Hey guys, I'm back with another story time, and by the title, I'm sure you can tell this shit's gonna be good. Disclaimer, Dad, if you are watching this, stop watching this. I am 100% serious. If you do watch it at your own risk. I don't want you to call me later and tell me that I shouldn't have posted this. Okay, so let's just get right to the story. Me and this guy matched on Bumble, and if you don't know what Bumble is, it's a dating app, but it's strange. Bumble is an app where you can match, but the girl has to message the guy first, otherwise in 24 hours the connection disappears. On this app are some of the best looking guys I have ever seen in my entire life. This story is about a guy who, yeah, he's beautiful. So whatever, we matched on Bumble, we started talking, he wanted my Snapchat, he was sending me snaps, and that same night, we FaceTimed. We FaceTimed for like 3 or 4 hours, and honestly, it was okay. It wasn't like we FaceTimed for 3 or 4 hours because we were engaged in amazing conversation. One of the biggest turnoffs right away was that he mentioned, like, I think still when we were messaging on Bumble, he mentioned that he had an idea for a video for him and I to do together, which... don't say that. Now, as you can tell from the title, this is gonna involve sex. This story involves sex, okay? And yes, I had sex with someone that I met that day, and I did it very intentionally, and I wanted to do it. I hadn't had sex in a long time. I feel like I've done this like twice in my life where I don't want a relationship with someone, I'm just sexually frustrated, and I just wanna have sex with them. I feel like there's this ongoing misconception that girls don't enjoy sex, but we do, and when we don't have it, we want it. You know, I have needs, and as long as you're being safe, and as long as you're an adult, do your thing, chicken wing. So I was sexually frustrated, and as soon as I had a conversation with this guy and I kind of had the bad impression that maybe he was using me for my videos, or I don't know what, he wanted to be an actor, but then he also wanted to be a firefighter. I don't know what's going on with this kid. Point is, I had like an inkling that maybe he was only talking to me because of my videos. I don't think I'm the worst looking person in the world, but this guy was beautiful, and like I was just kind of like, why are you talking to me? But since I was sexually frustrated and he was hot, I was like, I don't care about a relationship. I'm just gonna go on a date with him and then I'm gonna have sex with him. So this guy is so weird. Like, he just says things that are so dumb. I don't think he's necessarily dumb, but I don't think he's necessarily smart. He's just like someone who just blurts things out that make no sense. I think I brought up Disneyland in some way. I think I was about to go to Disneyland with my friends, something of that sort, and he said, well, can I tell you a secret? And I said, sure. And he said, I may or may not be hanging around there sometimes. After like not really caring about that, I was just like, oh, cool, ha ha ha. I didn't even like ask questions about it because what the fuck does that even mean? He finally admitted to me that he plays the prince at Disneyland. He like is a character of the prince at Disneyland. He then tells me that the reason why he didn't tell me that he was a prince at Disneyland is because girls date him just because he's a prince at Disneyland. I didn't know how to respond to this because, like, how do I put this nicely? I don't give a shit. You're the prince at Disneyland. I had waffles for dinner last night. What's your point? He didn't get any of my jokes on FaceTime or in person. Like, I would say a joke, and honestly, okay, I think sometimes I can be funny. I think a lot of times I'm not funny, but like 1 out of 10 jokes will be like a hard hitter. And he didn't laugh at any. You know when you're talking to someone and they say something that's not necessarily funny, but you laugh anyway, just because, like, to be polite, especially if you're like dating or something, he just kind of just stared blankly into the abyss. Like, I feel like if time stood still and all was quiet, you'd be able to hear like air just like whoosh in his head. Now, the reason why I'm explaining all of this is to set this up. Like, I need you guys to know my mental state and like what I went through. I'm getting real active with my hands. Eventually, he asked me out. He's like, hey, so what are you doing this Saturday? And I was like, not much. And he's like, you want to go out? And I was like, yes. He asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, do you want to go to live comedy? I love live comedy, Laugh Factory, improv, all that jazz. I love it, especially on a first date. It's kind of a good scenario because you can drink while sitting next to each other and not really having to talk that much. Normally, if I was genuinely interested in dating someone, I wouldn't like not want to talk to them, but I just wanted to have sex with him. So live comedy. And when I said live comedy, he's like, yeah, anything you want. Like, kind of saying like, I got you, baby. Anything you want. And that's important, and you'll find out why. The day that we were supposed to go on a date, I was kind of like subtly reminding him the entire day to get a ticket. Now listen, on a first date, I do not expect the guy to pay. I'm not saying that just to like sound like progressive or whatever. Like, I genuinely don't expect them to pay. They don't know me, I don't know them. We don't owe each other anything. Like, I wouldn't want to pay for a guy on the first date. What if it doesn't go well? Like, I still have to pay? No, fuck that. I remind him that day like a billion times to get his ticket. Every time I would remind him, he would kind of just like answer to other things in the conversation. Like, if I said, oh yeah, I was just hanging out with my dog. By the way, did you get your ticket? He'd be like, oh haha, your dog's so cute. Bitch, what about the ticket part. Well, the entire day goes by and he still hasn't gotten his ticket. I didn't get my ticket because at this point I was like, are we even going? He lives in Anaheim, which is where Disneyland is, which is where he's the prince. And so that's like, I don't know, I want to say it's like an hour away, you know, if there's bad traffic, maybe like an hour and 15, 20 minutes. So it's like kind of a long drive. So I wasn't expecting him to get like super drunk because you never know, like what if the date goes bad? Like, yeah, he could sleep over, but what if it goes bad? Like, can you go home? So when he gets to my house, the first thing that he starts doing is telling my brother to go on his Facebook to look at guys, and if he thought that any guy was cute, that he could hook him up with them. And I thought that was strange, mainly because I hate when guys try too hard to impress my family. Like, just be yourself and that should be enough. So he was doing all of that, and then we still hadn't gotten the tickets, so the show's getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm like, motherfucker. So I go downstairs and I buy 2 tickets because I was just like, I'm not gonna go there and then have that whole awkward thing of where like, does he want to buy just his ticket or just mine ticket? Like, I didn't know what was gonna happen, so I just bought both tickets. It wasn't a huge deal. I figured maybe he'll get the drinks or like whatever. Well, it'll even out. It didn't even out. He looks at me and he goes, so did you get the lift? And I'm like, it's on its way. I don't mind calling the lift, like if you want me to get one there and then you get the one on the way back, like I don't mind all of that, but don't just look at me and be like, did you get the lift yet? Like, what am I, your sugar mama? He wanted to go eat at Pink Taco, which is a Mexican restaurant, and it was like right next to Laugh Factory. So I was like, that's fine. He goes, don't worry, I got the food. Oh, you are so kind, thank you. Mind you, I had already eaten, so I told him I wasn't gonna eat. I was like, I'll get an appetizer or something, and then he goes, well, don't worry, I'll get the food. Mainly because he was gonna eat, and I was gonna eat a little appetizer, and then that was it, and then he was gonna be so gracious and pay $15 for the food. We were sitting down, and the bartender comes up, and he recognized me from my videos, and he's like, let me get you a shot, and I was like, okay. Ironically enough, the shot was called Panty Dropper. So I take the shot, and then the manager brings me another shot, and I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I know you from your videos. I'm like, stop with the shots. So after we took the shots, he looked at me and he goes, how often? Which meant he was referring to how often do I get recognized, but in an annoyed tone, like how often? And I'm like, not that often, I guess, just sometimes it depends on, I don't know. I was already kind of turned off, so what does Jessi do? Jessi drinks. When I'm on a bad date, I just pound the drinks, and especially because I still wanted to have sex with him because he's just delicious. Like, can you blame me? Everyone's done that. Well, no, not everyone? Okay. We get to the Laugh Factory, we sit down. If you guys have never been to a live comedy show, it's typically a 2-drink minimum, which means you can order Sprite, you can order an alcoholic beverage, but you have to order at least 2 drinks. So when you get there, the waitress comes around and asks for credit cards to like open a tab. The first thing I do, obviously, is I give my credit card. Not in a way that I was saying like, don't worry, I got this, but just like kind of like, I'm gonna drink, so here's my credit card. I genuinely thought he was gonna put his card for his stuff. Like, it was just like a no-brainer. He didn't. This entire time, we're watching a comedy show and pounding back. I mean, we must have had between both of us like 15 drinks, between like beers and all that stuff. That was all going on my card. Every time that the waitress would come and ask me if I wanted a drink, I would order, and then I looked at him and I was like, are you gonna order a drink? Like, kind of like, bitch, stop. And he kept ordering a drink. He's like, I'll order a drink if you order a drink. And I literally looked at him and said, I'm gonna keep ordering drinks, like every time she comes. And he didn't get a hint. He just kept ordering drinks. I was like, oh. Honestly, at this point, I was just like, Jessi, just drink until you like them. I believe in you. Then things started getting like sexually weird. He had his arm around me, you know, like when guys do the little like thing that they like kind of like move their fingers around to like let you know that they're like there. I don't know why they do that actually. So he had his arm around me and he was digging his fingernails into my arm, like scratching so fucking hard that I literally like almost shed a tear. And I'm still 100% convinced that the people behind me had to have been worried. Like, they had to have thought that I was being like held captive by him. I went to the bathroom and I literally saw like marks all up and down my arm. It was bizarre. So we finally leave the Laugh Factory and he looks at me again and is like, hey, did you call the lift yet? At this point, I wasn't surprised and I was too drunk to care. So I was like, yep, calling it now. We get to my house, we start making out. Just making out. And I was like, all right, this is the moment you've been waiting for. But to my surprise, we made out for maybe 45 seconds to a minute before he decided it was time. And he just put it up in there. Oh gosh, this is gonna get weird real quick. I thought it would be like not awkward to tell this story, but it's awkward. See, this is the problem, and this is something I hope guys actually learn from this story. I hope there's a guy watching, and honestly, I think this guy's gonna watch the video, so if you are watching this, hi, you kinda suck. But I hope guys learn that you need to take care of a girl. Guys can go straight at it, right? They get it, and then they're going, and then it's good. Sex is enjoyable for women. It's so enjoyable for women if you warm them up. You gotta do stuff. You can't just put it in there That's not enjoyable for us. That's not how that works. So he didn't do anything. He just went straight for it. And honestly, my vagina was not thrilled. She just shriveled up into a raisin. Okay, my vagina just morphed into the Sahara Desert. The forecast was 100% dry as fuck and 0% chance of rain. Okay, you get it. It wasn't long before he realized, like, wait a second, I think this bitch dry as fuck. So he stopped and like took a little break and reached for an Aquafina water bottle. And I actually said like, oh, I'm thirsty too. Can you pass me the water bottle when you're done? And then he just put the water bottle down. And I was like, wait, no, I'm thirsty. He then went back to like start kissing me and I was like, oh, well, okay, whatever, we'll start kissing. Maybe things will warm up down there. How do I say this? He then went to kiss me and spit all of the water into my mouth. And I'm sitting there like a little baby bird, like, cause I was genuinely thirsty. So a bitch was chugging the spit water, okay? And also it went like, what am I supposed to do? Like let it run down my face? Like I was just there like, oh my God. It was disgusting. The water was warm from his spit. Oh my God. I was just so grossed out and I felt so strange. Then he moved down to my vagina, like his head is moving down. I'm like, hallelujah. And just when I thought he was about to just go ham and warm a bitch up, he spits the rest of the water onto my vagina. Goes like this, I'm not even joking, like slaps my vagina around and just goes right back in. And I am honestly just laying there like a naked mole rat. No control, like just there like, Jesus, why me? And if I wasn't turned on before, oh my God, I was negative turned on, okay? I would say that went on for like 3 minutes before he literally like couldn't penetrate anymore. Like my vagina was dry. And when you mix a dry vagina with a condom, nope. So he eventually just stops and we just go to bed. Then we wake up in the morning and this is the cherry on top of the cake. We were showing each other YouTube videos and he's like, I need to show you something, but it has nothing to do with last night. Right when he said that, I knew that it wasn't gonna be good. He then shows me a video of an Australian comedian who honestly I didn't find funny, and it's not just because of this joke. It's just like I don't particularly find people funny just because they're vulgar, like people that just want to be really vulgar and really crazy just to be funny. Like that's not my sense of humor. So this comedian was talking about dry holes, which he's referring to dry vaginas. Wonderful. He says that women's dry vaginas are equivalent to males' impotence, and that any woman who can't get her vagina wet should be ashamed of herself. So that's what he chose to show me. Dude, if you're watching this, I want to tell you something I couldn't tell you that day. If a woman is not wet, it is your fault. 100%. There might be a few women who have an issue with their, you know, mental and vagina connection and they just can't allow themselves to be aroused. I ain't one of those women and I've never had a problem before I met you. About a week goes by and then I get a call from him, which obviously I don't answer. And he leaves me a voicemail asking me to get lunch because he was gonna be in Los Angeles and he's like, hey, if you're free, let's go to lunch, blah, 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 blah. And I texted him later that night saying basically that I didn't feel like him and I had a connection and that I am sorry if that offends him, but I don't wanna like waste my time on just anything. And this motherfucker has the balls to say, oh my God, yeah, no, I totally agree. The reason why I wanted to take you to lunch was to assert a friendship, to tell you I wanted to be friends. Is anyone else in here buying that bullshit? Hot guy, probably hasn't been rejected before, just doesn't know how to take it. Shocker. Anyway, that's it. I haven't spoken to him since. So yeah, check him out at Disneyland. Anyway, that's my story time of my horrible online dating sex story thing. I don't know what I'm gonna title this. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know some people are probably gonna be like, you're a slut, like you just wanted to have sex with him, but yeah, I wanted to have sex with him. What the fuck is wrong with that? Anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye.